Over the last few video sessions, we've been taking a look at 7th chords, and we've investigated almost all the 7th chords. We started out with a dominant 7th, which we said was the lowered 7th degree of the scale. Then we learned a major 7th, which employs the 7th degree of the major scale. And then we learned a minor 7th, which is a minor triad plus the lowered 7th degree of the scale. Then we considered a minor with a major 7th. And we considered an augmented 7th, which is an augmented triad with a 7th. And then we considered the half diminished 7th, which is like that. The symbol was a little degree sign with a slash through it. And to form a diminished or half diminished 7th, we make the chord diminished and then lower the 7th half step from the major 7th. Okay, so we've been through all except one now. Now today I'd like to take up diminished 7th chords, not half diminished, but full diminished 7th chords. And they're very tricky and they're very easy. They're very tricky because the 7th is lowered not a half step, but 2 half steps. And so that, if you're talking about C diminished 7th, we're not talking about that scale 7th, we're not talking about the lower 7th, we're talking about the double flatted 7th, which most people would say, well, that's an A, but it's not. It's got to be a B double flat to be consistent within that key. Okay, so it's really a stack of minor thirds, isn't it? In other words, from there up to there is a minor third, from there up to there is a minor third, from there up to there is a minor third. And if we continue on up, that's a minor third, 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 and so on. Okay, so C diminished 7th is like that. Once again, we form a diminished triad, and then we take the double lowered 7th and add to it. Okay? So let's go to F and see if we can figure that out. Let's start with a diminished triad, so we lower the 3rd and the 5th, and then we add the double flatted 7th, not the 7th, not the minor 7th, not the lowered 7th, but the double lowered 7th. Okay? So that's F diminished 7th. G diminished 7th would involve lowering the 3rd and 5th to make it a diminished triad, and then adding the double lowered 7th. So that's G diminished. Now as I play these, you're going to notice some things here, and we'll talk about that when we get done here at the end. So here's a D major chord. How do we make it diminished? We lower the 3rd and the 5th a half step, and we add the double lowered 7th. So that's D diminished 7th. E diminished 7th, A diminished 7th, D flat diminished 7th, E flat diminished 7th, A flat diminished 7th, G flat diminished 7th, B diminished 7th, and B flat diminished 7th. Okay, so like I said, it's a little bit complex because you have to double lower that 7th, not a half step, but a whole step. Okay. Now, I hope you noticed as we went through there that we played some inversions of each chord. In other words, there's really only 3 diminished 7th chords: that one, and that one. Why is that? Because if I move up another half step, I have an inversion of what I just played on C. In other words, C diminished 7th is the same thing as E flat diminished 7th, is the same thing as G flat diminished 7th, or F sharp diminished 7th, which is the same thing as A diminished 7th. You see that? They're just inversions of one another. And I can play that till the cows come home, good night. Okay. Now if we go up a half step from that to D flat diminished 7th, that's an inversion of E diminished 7th, it's an inversion of G diminished 7th, and it's a division of B flat diminished 7th. If I go up another half step from that, I come to D diminished 7th, which is an inversion of F diminished 7th, which is an inversion of A flat diminished 7th, which is an inversion of B natural diminished 7th. Okay? So there's really only 3 diminished 7th chords you need to learn. That one, and that one, because all the rest are inversions of one another. Now there's lots of things that you can do with the diminished 7th chord, but excuse me, but I think I'll save that for next time, okay? Because this is a very useful chord because there's so many different things you can do with it. I'll just give you a hint. If you lower any one note of that diminished 7th chord, you get a dominant 7th chord. In other words, if I lower the bottom note, that's B dominant 7th. If I lower the E flat, that's D dominant 7th. If I lower the G flat, that's F dominant 7th. If I lower the A half step, that's A flat dominant 7th. Okay, so you can transpose and modulate very easily using that chord, but we'll talk about that on a separate video. Okay, so that's it for today, and we've been through all the 7th chords now. So after I summarize what you can do with that, then we'll go on to and maybe we ought to take a whole session just to summarize those chords again and get them clear in your mind so you don't get them mixed up with one another. And then we'll go on to other kinds of chords such as ninths and flat ninths and so on. Okay? So we'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.